Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got a 6-game slate here on Thursday for you guys. A couple of fun ones. Nate and I have a couple of the teams that we like going up head to head. That's the video we have for you here. The Celtics are hosting the Knicks. Also got another game video and our player props up for you, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out everything we're talking about there and more in written form on thelines.com, and use that odds finder tool that we have up there. You can make sure you're getting the best bets available to you guys, the best juice you can get back on all these bets for the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 6-game slate and then talk season Knicks.
Yeah, there are 6 games, but there are only 2 games where you can guarantee that both teams are trying. So those are the games we're talking about here. The Knicks and Celtics is the opener. It will be on TV, I believe, on TNT. Knicks are plus 8.5. I've seen it as high as plus 9. The total's been bet down a little bit to 223. Then the Pistons are plus 7.5 at the Nets, who are on a back-to-back. Got to watch the injury report. Bulls are minus 5.5 at the Hornets. The Cavs minus 8.5 at Rockets, but Donnie Mitchell might sit that one. They're on a back. No, they're not on a back-to-back, but he just might sit because it's the Rockets. And then the Spurs are plus 13 on a back-to-back at the Clips. Totals up to 233, but I kind of like the over there. And then Mavs plus 1.5 at the Suns. That is the other game we will talk about. Should be a spicy one. And so this Knicks Celtics game, no Marcus Smart for the Celtics, but they do get Brogdon back. They got Rob Williams back on Tuesday in another low-scoring game with the Heat. Strangely now, they've gone under in 6 of their last 7. I mean, under in 4 of their last 5 at home, but those games are still averaging 228. So it's kind of an adjustment from what we saw early in the season, where the Celtics were scoring at least 120 every time out at home, where they were going over at a ridiculous clip, going under pretty consistently on the road. They continue to go under on the road, but they've only played once at home in their last 7, and that was that Warriors game that got to 239. Also, Jaylen Brown has missed 4 of their last 7 games, and the offense suffered a little bit. I mean, against the Hornets, they were fine, but against good defenses, that definitely contributes. And he seems to have gotten it going here in his last 2 appearances. And we do look for him to see a little more usage with Marcus Smart out. But the biggest deal for me is that the Celtics defense is going to suffer without Smart, and their offense even more so in the last year and a half or so has struggled a lot more without Smart, who's really come around as a floor general, as a guy who pushes the pace and helps them get great shots. I mean, the 3-point percentage is extremely correlated to whether he's playing or not. Smart has really come alive as a playmaker lately, and their 3-point percentage is extremely correlated to whether he's out there. So I still do like the over, though, because we've talked about with the Knicks, and I guess we got it wrong against the Cavs, just because those are 2 teams that really take away the paint and have some extremely slow pace. I mean, the game was played at a 90 pace, but still there were some really good offensive signs from both teams in the sense that the Knicks shot 52% from 3, hit 17, and the Cavs dimed out 29 assists. And the Celtics, the last time these teams played, it was a Saturday night at MSG early in the season when the Celtics were on fire. They hit 27 threes. They had 30 assists, but that's kind of the 2 numbers you look at. Are the Knicks giving up assists? Are they giving up threes? And yes, without Mitchell Robinson, they've been giving up everything. 129 defensive rating in their last 5, a 140 in their last 2 road games. So even if it's played at a kind of slow pace, I expect one of these teams at least to get hot. I mean, obviously, you would lean towards the Celtics doing that, but I think the Knicks are coming along. I mean, they're starting to be more competitive in these games against teams above 500. We talked about that. I mean, they're still below 500 in those, but they're now 10-3 in their last 13 road games against the spread. As underdogs, starting to cover at a pretty high rate. I mean, and the over has been hitting pretty consistently, including in 6 of their last 8 road games this season. They had 64 pain points in that Boston game to keep us, just to hang around a little bit. That was with no Rob Williams or Al Horford. who both should be out there tonight. But I think the Knicks are going to cover this 8.5, or at least hang around close enough to that number to go over.
Oh man, I'm scared. I don't know if I have a solid pulse on this Knicks team. So it's a little bit difficult for me to know what's going to happen other than they're going to give up a ton of points. I think that's pretty obvious. And the thing that scares me there is just what we've seen the Celtics do in their last three, which you briefly talked about, including against a Raptors team that I guess they're playing slow now, as they also just went way under against the Kings last night. So maybe that's a big part of it. And then obviously the Heat are doing what they can to sort of stay under 110 points, especially when they don't have Jimmy Butler playing like they did against the Celtics. So, I mean, maybe it's just the fact that the Raptors slow things down. The Magic are a bad matchup for the Celtics, the game they played just before the Heat. And the Heat are the Heat against. That's always going to be a matchup in the East that, they take each other seriously. And the Heat are coming back into form a little bit, at least, because Bam is playing completely out of his mind. So I'm not blaming the Celtics entirely for not hitting shots, especially with the amount of injuries they've had in their last three games. If anything, I would say that does lean toward, make me lean towards the over here much more because of the fact that you're getting a bit of value on the fact that, the Celtics have had 3 games in a row that they've scored basically an average of like 98 points. So I think there's value on going over 223.5. It's also what happened earlier this season. What do you believe in terms of their first matchup in terms of replicating itself? Because it's a pretty nice sort of similar situation here where Mitchell Robinson did not play in their game in the first time that they met this season. And the Celtics scored 133 points, shooting 52% from deep, making 25 threes or something absurd. So what have the Knicks been doing on defense as of late? Not much. Like you said, those 5 games, they've been hemorrhaging points all over the place because Mitchell Robinson is out, but they've also been hemorrhaging 3-pointers as they're giving up the 7th most 3-pointers made right now in the league in their last 5 games. And if that's going to be the case against the Celtics, then we know what's going to happen. Marcus Smart being out hurts the defense maybe a little bit more than I would say the offense, but you've seen what's been happening without him in there anyway. In terms of Derek White stepping up big time, and now Brogdon's back for this one, another solid perimeter defender for you. So I think, I don't trust the Knicks to do much of anything. I think if you're following their trends, they don't win or lose once or twice in a row. It goes 4 wins, 5 losses, blah, 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 on and on with them. So maybe they're streaking in the right direction. I worry that Jalen Brunson's not really up to form in the last 5 as well. That's a huge reason for their struggles. I mean, the defense is probably directly correlated, not probably, it's directly correlated to Mitchell Robinson being out there. He's a complete terror in the post and in the paint. But, with JB not playing up to his scratch in the last 5, getting down to about 21 a game where they really need him at about 25 and only getting about 4 or 5 assists in that time as well. That's a huge problem for them, that's really the adult on their offense that not only keeps things in check and is a huge reason Julius Randle continues to thrive because of Jalen Brunson getting him in the correct spots. But at the same time, they need a secondary scorer, or at least the guy that sort of bails them out in the shot clock, the guy who sort of takes it and goes, I don't need anybody else to help me get a bucket here. And they haven't been having that. And as a result, you've even seen his sort of unassisted field goals go down. Just the things that have been really crucial for them in the way that I said, he's the adult on the floor, not just setting things up, but making sure they get the right buckets and the right shots. So that is the only thing that those things scare me about that total, but I'm going over before I go anywhere else. I think you have a bit more confidence in New York to cover tonight based on the way that they played the Cavs last game. But the Cavs looked really, really bad on offense, man. It was pretty stagnant, and I don't know how much I attribute that to the Knicks. So while I go over here, I'm loath to think the Knicks can cover 8 or 9 points, to be honest.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I have much more confidence in the over as kind of a dual scenario thing where the Celtics, I think, will get right on offense. It's a question of whether the Knicks will be able to maintain the kind of pace we saw at Toronto, at Atlanta, where they at least kept the scoring up, and those games went way over. But there's a chance the Celtics get back to where they were at home, where they just, absolutely hit the gas and teams are not even hanging around. Yeah, I mean, RJ Barrett is, I guess, that other guy you're talking about in terms of getting his shot, and he's very up and down against the Celtics. I think his matchup is helped by no Smart, and Julius Randle continues to wreak havoc on the league. So even if Brunson is not up to full form, I think there's enough guys out there to get buckets for the Knicks. But yeah, I'm having trouble just trusting the Celtics. There's like a bit of a Kansas City Chiefs vibe where they're going to take care of business in these games, but they're not necessarily going to cover as big of a spread as you give them. 5-8 against the spread. Their last 13 as favorites. 4-7 against the spread at home since the start of December. And that was like the first month and a half they could do no wrong at home. It was just absolutely blowout city every time. Luke Cornett and here comes Geno time, as they say here. If you know, you know. But yeah. I mean, lately it's just been much more of a grind, much more of a target on their back. They're the top team in the conference, and I do think the Knicks will. I would rather take the Knicks to cover than I would guarantee a Celtics double-digit win.
And we don't need to force it. We can just say we like this total and going over, and really we like the Celtics total as well. I think is what we're saying. I think that they can get some buckets on this team without Mitchell Robinson down there. And the reason we would be worried about this total going over is if the Knicks even come along for the ride. So if you feel much better about the Celtics the way that I do, I think I'm going for team total even more so than that 223.5 total, just because I do not trust the Knicks on defense right now.
So are the Mavs, who are plus 1.5 at the Suns, 221 total. But this is a wary spot in terms of the total for sure. I mean, anytime we talk about the Mavs in terms of them, how many threes they can hit or miss, there's a ton of variance here. And last time against the Suns, they hit 23s. They were up 26 by halftime, and they snapped that 10-game regular season losing streak to Phoenix. Of course, that's kind of a moot point because we all know the Mavs won a 7-game playoff series against the Suns, and clearly they don't own them. Does Phoenix? But Phoenix is definitely a team to tail right now. I guess won 4 straight, got CP3 back in 2 of those, and as much as they're having their issues behind closed doors, Ayton clearly not happy. Still not a great team without Devin Booker. They're at least competent after that 2-12 stretch. They're definitely looking to hold serve at home. And you trust CP3, the best future NBA coach, according to that survey Mark Medina shared with us for sure, as just that kind of stabilizing presence on the floor. Look, they have a 71% win percentage with him over the last season and a half. And their defensive rating is 5 points better per 100 possessions since 2022 with him, including, the last 4 right now. Their defense has been great. A 102 defensive rating against some poor teams, some okay offenses. I mean, they hosted Memphis in there, so that's definitely impressive. But and they limit 3-point percentage in that span, which is obviously the biggest key. When you go up against the Mavs, there's stark home road splits for both these teams. I don't know if you can read into it as much because it is kind of a big rivalry at this point. But, I mean, Dallas, the biggest thing, no Christian Wood, no Maxi Kleber, which has been the case for months, so no interior defense. I mean, no guy who can serve on both sides of the floor, play with Luka. And that offense continues to be dead last in several categories, except free throws. So, I mean, and Phoenix is below average guarding free throws, so I guess there's a case there to say we should see some points. But look, the road home stuff, 8-15 straight up on the road are the Mavs. They're 1-9 straight up as road dogs. And yeah, that really fits into the strength of schedule you look at lately. Like, they've had mixed results on the road, but they've played Houston twice, Portland twice, and got smacked in both of those. The Lakers and Clippers, who both had stars out, and the Spurs and the Thunder. So when they're home road favorites, you might be able to trust them. But, slight dogs here. And with CP3 back and the Suns looking like they're getting a bit of their mojo back, I think, you take them without a spread, basically, -1.5 to win.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the total. I'm going to stay away from it too. I mean, in their last, 9 games, the Mavs are averaging 236 points a game, like in their games. That's crazy when I say the Mavs. If you've been following anything the Mavs have been doing since Jason Kidd got there and maybe even a year before, you know that they don't play fast enough to get to 236 unless they are playing at the second worst defensive rating in the league in that time, hemorrhaging points pretty much wherever you want them, to be honest. I don't know what they're necessarily doing well. They're rebounding occasionally, but not in their last 9. At least on the defensive side, they've been a little bit better, but overall 27th in rebound percentage. Phoenix is currently 9th in second chance points over their last 4 since they've gotten Ayton back, and CP3 has been in there as well. Dallas still playing in their last 9 at about a 97 pace, maybe a little bit fast for them, even 96, 95 is where they usually like to play, yet they're still giving up those 121 points at that pretty slow pace. And you look at it's the road stuff as well. I mean, they're bad on offense on the road, but at least compared to at home. But that 120 defensive rating on the road versus the 113 is where you go, what is going on here? And Christian Wood isn't exactly like a defensive stopper, but he's definitely their best rebounder when he's on the floor. And that's going to be a huge problem for them if Phoenix is going to continue to get second chance points, and DeAndre Ayton is going to kind of have his way getting rebounds. We know he doesn't necessarily back you down. He's got a nice little touch around the rim, and that should be enough on those second chance points. With other thing I'm looking at here with no Christian Wood, like the rebounding is a huge part of it, but that's the other thing for the offense is like Luka with and without Christian Wood, there is a bit of a difference with those on-off numbers. He's much better. He's not bad without. There's no point in the game where Luka's bad necessarily, but when he's when Christian Wood's on the floor out there, he definitely gets a few more assists, and that does open things up for him on the 3 a bit more when you talk about the pick and roll game that Christian Wood allows for them, the pick and pop, and even a bit of a roll for him this season. So Phoenix in their last 4, I like what I'm seeing on offense from them because Chris Paul is back, and Chris Paul is back because they're back to being 4th in terms of the percentage of points they're shooting from the mid-range or scoring from the mid-range. 4th in that category, obviously behind Brooklyn and Chicago, where they will always remain. But 30 assists per game, direct correlation of CP3 in there. A few more threes at 14.5, shooting 44%. And really, the fact that they're number 5 in opponent 3-point percentage, they're like 4th in terms of opponents, the amount of threes that the opponents are making. So the percentage can sometimes be skewed by just make or miss from deep, but if they're not making as many because they're not even getting the attempts the way that Phoenix is stifling the 3-point line right now, then what's Dallas going to do? Take a step in and shoot from 2? Nobody knows how to do that. Why would they do that? So I think the fact that they're also 5th in percentage of their points from free throw are the Suns. Dallas allowing the 2nd most free throw attempts in their last 9. Number 1 points in off of assists for the Suns as well. Also CP3 stuff. So I mean, just the identity of the team back to being CP3, but the defense as well with CP3 and what they've been doing is exactly what you need to do to stifle this Dallas team that if they're not making threes and they're not really working off of Luka just getting 37, which we've told you before, he needs to get 37 to 38 points for them to get a W this season. And in their losses, he's actually averaging about 29 or 30. His props at about 34.5. I don't like the over in this one, despite what I'm seeing from the offenses in this team. I do think the pace remains slow enough that it scares me to take an over in this one, even though that would be what some of the numbers indicate is likely to happen. It's too 50-50, to be honest. Like this could be 219. It could be 208. It could be 230. I would say that's about as high as I would take it. And if it got up a little bit higher, in these the 220s, I might take that under. But most importantly, Phoenix is in a good place. Dallas is in a very bad place. Phoenix has guys that they need back in the lineup without Sans Book, obviously. But Dallas is trending in the wrong direction with those injuries, as they still don't have Kleba back and Wood. So it's just a good spot for the Suns to keep rolling and the Mavs to just keep falling.
Yeah, the scoring is too dependent on the refs because you look at Dallas somehow both first in free throw to field goal ratio and dead last in giving up free throw to field goal ratio. Yeah. So it's like even when they play at a slow pace, the game stopped a lot while guys are scoring. Yeah. But they do struggle guarding the mid-range. Number 1 limiting 3-point makes, 2nd in attempts, and that's why they're 21st in 2-point percentage, and that's got to be worse without Wood, without any sort of rim protector typically back there. So that is why the Suns have kind of owned them, I think, is because like, okay, you're going to force us off the line. That's great. That's where we thrive, especially with CP3 back. So I think that's why we like Phoenix to make this a 5-game win streak and to make Dallas now 2-8 in their last 10.
And we've been talking all about CP3, but what about Cam? Our guy Cam Johnson, a favorite on this show as well, finally back, and there's got to be some correlation there to Cam Johnson coming back roughly 5 games ago, and they've been winning in their last 4 specifically. So, Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this first NBA play-up prop we got for tonight, Mr. Christopher Paul.
Yeah, we like the Suns at home because CP3 is back, and he's been excellent in their last 2. Continuing that win streak, he's averaging 18 points, 5.5 rebounds, 11 assists, and the prop is at 24.5 points assists. I think you always want to combine points and assists with CP3 because he's just as much of a threat for double-digit assists as he is for about 15 points, where his prop's at. But he does score more without Devin Booker. 25 games since 2021, he's averaging 16.5, and his usage rate goes up 3%. I also like, the thought of a double-double, which he's hit twice here in 2 games back, just controlling everything for the Suns. And that's plus 145 at DraftKings. He did have a smaller line in the opener against Dallas this season, just 6.39. Booker was obviously in there, only 16% usage. And that was a crazy game. The Suns got down by 30 and came back and won by 2. So whatever. Last 2 regular season before that, 19 points, 12.5 assists against Dallas, including a 26% usage rate in the home game. And that was with Devin Booker out there. Dallas is now down to 27th in defensive efficiency on the road. We talked in the game video about how they give up too much mid-range, which is where CP3 loves to operate. And that they're just struggling in a lot of categories without Christian Wood. So look for Chris Paul to lead the Suns. Maybe even you want some player performance doubles, like double-double and a win for CP3.
I love it. Yeah, I love the double-double. I thought it might get a little bit more, but I guess the 11 dimes in 2 games that he's averaging will mean that you're not getting quite as much juice on a double-double for Mr. Paul. But I think it's a pretty good bet either way to get plus 150 or so for him to do that in this one. I love the way that he's kind of come back and seems like he's like, I'm not only going to get, my points that you guys said I couldn't get last time I was out here before I got hurt. We were all talking about his diminishing production and points, but he's been putting those up. Obviously, no Book, all that. You got to like CP3. Like, we'd be attacking this if he had been healthy all season. We'd be attacking this because Book is out again, probably. So I think it's a safe play right here with a pretty low total for our guy, especially if he's going to get 10 assists. Yeah, I love him to get 15 points. So, not for the faint of heart, which is what I say every time I take a Luka under. It worked out last time. I'm going back to the well, baby. But I'm going PRA. Last time I went under 34.5 points for Luka. He scored 34. Got that right. Going under 53.5 points, rebounds, and assists, man. It's so freaking high. Like, I understand for him and Giannis, it's not that crazy, and Joker and whatever, but like, it's still the regular season. And 53.5 is a ton. His last 4 in the regular season versus Phoenix, 30.5 points a game, 7 boards, 7 assists. That's all in about 36 minutes per game. It's those shooting splits, 44% from the field and that 28% from deep, because he still has a 38% usage rate. The reason you worry about him scoring is the 10.5 free throw attempts a game he's been getting against them as well. Look, in his last 10, he's not even averaging this 53. He hasn't really gotten to that 53, I believe, 3 times in the last 10. 32 points, 10 boards, and 7 assists a game in that time frame in 40 minutes a game, Nate. Like, dude's not coming out because they realize the on-off numbers are too stark, especially when guys like Christian Wood are out of the lineup. But Phoenix defense, baby. In their last 4, 102.3 defensive rating. They are allowing the 4th fewest three-pointers. They are just as importantly allowing the 10th fewest free throw attempts a game as well. We know Dallas scoring the 4th most points off of turnovers as of late, and Luka doing a ton of that damage with about almost 11 free throws attempts a game. So it does scare you a little bit, but I expect this to be a little bit more grindy than I do expect it to go nice and fast and be a fluid offensive game of any kind. So I think that's a good reason to like Luka to get under 54 rebounds, points, and assists combined.
I'm faint of heart. No, thank you. Luka, I think, probably scores 40 tonight, and Dallas still loses because that's about what's been happening. And I think my angle here would be with Joker now missing 3 of his last 4 with a sore hamstring, and Luka down to plus 425, plus 450 for MVP. Maybe you put a little scratch on that because he is just absolutely dragging this team. It's not even close. And Joker got the MVP with that narrative last year. No supporting cast. Now he has a great supporting cast. They were hanging with the Bucks last night without him. Without all the starters, in fact. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're tipping a little bit towards Luka if he can finish out the season and if the Mavs can stay out of the play-in. But I will take an under, and I will take PRA for Zach LaVine, 35.5. Not really a huge peripherals guy. And I kind of like the 25.5 points under, which is actually plus money. It's much better odds because it's right around where he's usually scores. And it looks like a great matchup against Charlotte for sure. Charlotte, we've talked about the weirdly actually, I mean, not weird, I guess, but they're above average at home, especially guarding the 3-point line. And they've done a good job on LaVine, who's hitting just under 2.5 threes at 33% in his last 8 against this team, scoring under 20 points per game. That's on a pretty healthy usage rate of 25%. And he's slumping right now. He just went over 7 from deep, hitting just over 1 3 at 17% in his last 5. I just also really think about the blowout factor here. I mean, maybe you want to wait, see if LaMelo Ball misses another one. He's been out 8 days now as the Hornets embrace the tank for Vic here. And if he's ruled out, I think Chicago probably blows them out for yet another loss for Charlotte.
Yeah, I won't spend too much time harping on this one. I would agree. I think the blowout factor is there, and I like adding the peripherals as well. I think you found something a bit with the Zach LaVine not necessarily caring too much about playing Charlotte as it seems, and the slight above. I think the margins are correct here for you basically in all the places that you would want to go under for Zach LaVine tonight. So let's finish things off in that game that we do have a game video about the C's and the Knicks, and I'm going Rob Will here. Seems pretty obvious to target the other huge rim, ferocious rim protector on one side when Mitchell Robinson, who is that for the Knicks, on the other side is not playing. So a good starting point right there for Rob Will. 8.5 boards. You get plus money on FanDuel for him to get the 9 rebounds. I think we like a little more sloppiness maybe at times tonight, but 1.5 blocks for him as well. That's minus 118. Best odds there you'll find on Caesars using that odds finder tool that we talk about. In his last 5 for Rob Will, 8.5 points and about 9 boards, 8.8 or so, getting you really close. And then he's, the last one he just played against Miami, where they definitely needed him, against a guy like Bam and all the ferocity they bring around the rim. He played 31 minutes in that game, which is really what you're hoping for here is the minutes for Rob Will. And I think, he'll still have to get in there and play center the way he has if the Knicks continue to go big all around the floor. Hartenstein's gotten some points, but Jericho Sims has been in there a bunch, and I think that's who they like a lot more as the sort of, replacement for Mitchell Robinson. See what Jericho Sims has at this point because he hasn't been getting enough time at anyway. So with him on the floor playing about 25 to 30 minutes in the last 4 games or so, I think you can expect Rob Will to be out there with him. In his last 5 versus the Knicks, about 11 points a game, 8.8 rebounds and 4 blocks per game as well. Relevant here is when he plays without Marcus Smart as well, who's not playing tonight. His last 6 games in the regular season without Marcus Smart, about 10.7 boards and 29 minutes per game. They need a little extra defensive help when Smart is not out there. 9 blocks as well in the last 5 without Smart, as there's probably a few more guys getting to the rim without Smart's perimeter defense on there. I think there's some opportunity for guys to get closer to Rob Will and then find out that he's one of the best shot blockers in the league. So over 1.5 there is also pretty good. Love the rebounds alone, even without the points though, because of the juice you get on FanDuel there.
Yeah, the rebounds are really skyrocketed without Smart, who's kind of like not necessarily positionally a power forward, but I feel like he affects the paint more than you would expect from any other guard. Just the way the Celtics play cohesively, and I think that's going to lead to a lot more minutes for Rob Will, like you said.
Yeah, that's the Dillon Brooks style of play. Dillon Brooks is a shooting guard playing power forward as well, and guarding guys who are taller than him all over the floor. Marcus Smart loves to do that, and so I think Rob Will is going to need to come up big without Smart there tonight. And that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us each and every weekday this season. And until we see you next, happy betting.